share here.
Yep, now I'm recording too. All right,
Wait.
cool. So it should be recording, hopefully. And with that, everybody, welcome to the Crypto Basics Workshop thing, whatever we're calling it. We have no idea. It's a webinar. It's a whole bunch of things. We don't know. We just really wanted to share this with you guys, and a bunch of you keep asking. And so we wanted to package this all up in one little presentation, give a whole bunch of people the option to ask a bunch of questions if they have them in real time, be able to answer them, because otherwise we would have multiple one-on-one conversations with a bunch of people, and that is not as effective and efficient. So we can all do it together, and then we can have this recorded. So you can either share this with somebody that you feel this would be useful for, or next time somebody is interested and wants to talk to either of us, this is a resource for us to be able to share to them. So welcome to whatever this thing is. We're going to explain a little bit about what to expect. Let me request that. All right, now I think I can click. Cool. So let's get this started. And with all good crypto videos, we have to start off with, this is not financial advice. Nothing we say here is financial advice. Nothing is prescriptive. Please always, always, always do your own research. Make sure that you are comfortable making any moves with your money before you make those. And we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of abdicating responsibility and those kinds of things too, because there's a huge part of crypto is this is, we'll call it the Wild West of finance. So we are not here to tell you exactly what to do. We are not telling you, we're not going to tell you, hey, here, if you do this, this is going to happen. We're not making any promises, any of that, any disclaimer I can put on this. Please put the disclaimer in your head right now, because this is here for us to be able to show you what we have done, okay, and what we have shared and helped other people to do as well. And it is that powerful that we want to spend our time on a Monday night sharing with you, okay? So we are going to start with who we are. First off, I think, okay, in this intro, I hope I don't go an hour. I know I'm not going to go an hour, but I literally, as I'm going through all of this stuff, I keep thinking about all the crazy stories, all the cool things I want to tell you. I wish I had literally an hour to tell you all the crazy stuff that has happened. It has been about, I think it's 7 months, something like that, Torin. Is that right? 7 months? They're not 7 months. It's absolutely absurd. And so I want to tell you a little bit about who we are and who we are in relation to crypto and this thing that we're talking about, right? We're going to talk about the wolf den tonight. That's kind of like the words that we're going to use for the project that we are in. And this all started, I think it was about September. I think it was September. And I was planning, I wanted to go to a business event, and I was going to go learn from my mentor I've had for years. And he was putting on this event. It was his first like in-person event after COVID stuff happened. So COVID happened. This was the first live event. I'd never been to one of their live events, and I really wanted to go. And it wasn't exactly cheap. It wasn't cheap. And we did not have the money. Me and my wife did not exactly have the extra money to put towards this. And I was contemplating it, trying to figure it out. And through the blessing of a couple different friends, putting together, just literally like raising money for me to go to this thing, which was absolutely wild. Torin funded a massive amount of it. Hopefully that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, Torin, for sharing that, because he never gave me permission to say that. But Torin is that kind of guy. And he made it possible for me to go to this thing. When I went to this thing, my business mentor, literally any free time we had was talking about crypto. And I was looking at this, like, this is one of the most brilliant business minds, literally, I believe, in existence today, of like, it is absurd what he can put together, how he thinks about things, how he teaches, everything. And most of his time was spent talking about crypto. So I was at this event and I was like, there is something to this. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I've stayed away from crypto. I'm confused by that. I don't know about that thing. He spent most of his time talking about it. So I went to one of his friends that was like already in it. And I was like, look, bud, I need to know about this. What's up? This seems way too important to like not do anything with. He spent like 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours of his time, like just helping me get into the first part of what we're talking about. And since that time, all I've done, because all he was just basically like, yeah, man, I got helped. Just pass it forward, like pay it forward, help other people, because this is that life changing. I didn't get it. I didn't get it at the time. Saw the vision, but I didn't fully understand. And 7 months ago, I was just talking. Torin and I met at a coffee shop this morning to kind of run over these things to kind of see, hey, how's this going to go tonight? What do we want to talk about exactly? All that kind of stuff. And before we started, I was just like, Torin, hold on, man. Like, check this out. We were literally like 4 or 5 tables over from where we originally met. And I was looking back on it and I was like, man, literally, Torin, that was millions of dollars ago with helping people. We have helped people onboard not even just onboard, but make. At this point, literally, it's at least 10 million plus that we have helped our business clients and friends get into and make. And I am not one of those. Any of you guys that have known me for a long time, I'm not a like flashy, let's flaunt a bunch of numbers and do all those kinds of things. But I say that to kind of give credibility behind this of this isn't some like off the whim kind of, hey, maybe I should check that out. Maybe I shouldn't. This is serious business stuff. This is built in a serious business way. And again, I wish I could go on for 30 more minutes telling you how serious I am. I do not put my name on anything unless I know, hey, this is the real deal in these ways. Now, take that all from, again, remember, this is not financial advice. Do not take what I say as anything. Do your own research and all this kind of stuff. But I'm just letting you know that I have put my name on this. Torin has put his name on this. And we want to share this with you. That's why we're here. We want to share this with you. And a little bit about me, real quick. Nick Russo, for those of you who do not know, I own Dunzo. It is an executive assistant agency. We help business owners get paired with executive assistants, some of which are on the call today, which is amazing. And we do amazing things in the business realm, okay? I now get to bring this into the crypto realm, which is amazing. I get to bridge my worlds because of what I know, and we get to exponentially help all of those that are connected around us and in our business, okay? Torin, I met Torin, he was working a job at Exxon. He now no longer works a job at Exxon because he has the entrepreneurial spirit. He quit his job, started businesses. He helps people rank on Google, does a really awesome job with what he does, but through and through who he is an investor. He has learned how to invest and he knows a good investment when he sees it. So when I came back from that event, Torin's literally like, hey, whatever, I know I'm going to get a good ROI on it because you're going to come back with some little golden nugget of business stuff. And you're going to tell me, hey, this is like really cool. Think about this. And maybe you're going to intro me to somebody that could help me in business stuff. I'm like, awesome. I came back. I gave him the wolf den. I said, here you go, man. Literally, I'm not going to tell you anything else. Here's the wolf den. And him being the savvy investor that he is, has taken this to literally almost unbelievable like levels. Okay. So again, I am uncomfortable sharing a bunch of numbers. I'm not going to share a bunch of numbers, but what Torin has done and what he has done for my family, what he's done for my friends, it is absolutely absurd. Okay. It is freedom beyond many measures of what I thought was actually possible. And most of this would sound like a bunch of hyperbole, except we have other people on this call that are in the wolf den, that are experiencing the same exact things, that can vouch for those things. And if later in the Q&A you want to hear from some other people other than just Torin and me, I would love for you to hear from some of those people too. whatever. Ask questions, get comfortable. Okay, again, we're not pros. This isn't going to be like super polished and all these like beautiful things. This is literally just, hey, we put this together to share this with you. If you want it, here you go. Cool. Okay. Main point, you do not need to know how it all works to actually invest in any of this. Because like literally think about the stock market. Do you know how the stock market works and all of its intricacies? No, you have to understand very few principles to actually invest in the stock market. Cool. With this, if you need to know all of the details, cool, learn all the details. We actually have the resources for you to learn most of them. But I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't need to know any of this stuff. And something I preach pretty often in the mastermind is the who is more powerful than the how. Okay. If I know who and I can trust that who, right? Nick Peterson is the guy that introduced me to all of this as my business mentor. Nick Peterson, if he says, yeah, this is the real deal, I then can literally bypass all of the questions and say, awesome, sounds good. I'll do that. Okay. So that's a little hack, hopefully, to kind of understanding some pieces of this. So find the highest who that you trust within this to understand any more details that you do need to know. Okay. But what I do want you to walk away from with this is I want you to know enough information so that you can say yes or no to this decision, or it's a not yet. Okay. So come up with enough information so that what that's is going to lead you to, which I believe is not the next slide, but is Q&A. Okay, write your questions down along the way. We'll answer any and all questions we can at the end. We'll stick around, hang out in that kind of way, okay? So questions that you need answers to help inform your decisions. Informing your decisions of like, yeah, you know what? I want to check this out. I want to get my feet wet and start doing some stuff. Cool. Okay. If we can go back one slide. No. There it is. Okay. Yeah. So what to expect by the end of this, you'll have a base level understanding of what we are doing. Okay. And I'm saying base level understanding. We're not here to like teach you all the little things. We would literally confuse almost every single one of you, except for the people that are really actively like doing this, if you understood all of the intricacies. But we're going to tell you the base core of what we're doing. And the base core of what we're doing is what I would encourage most people to check out and see if it is something you want to invest in, because you will see about the returns and the everything. It is absolutely crazy. So yeah, if you're interested in investing in the end, you will have two options for your next steps. There's the free option and the paid option. You can learn and do everything you want to do and need to do within this space for free. All of that information is out there. We can point you in the right direction to kind of do all of that. There's also paid option, which Torin put together a course, basically teaching you how to get your money from US dollars into crypto and how to invest in these specific investments. And that is such a crucial point, because that part literally took me about 2 months to wrap my head around and like really actually understand and do. And it is an absolute mess of trying to figure out and do. So the options are there for you. We'll let you know a little bit about that at the end, but I just want you to be aware, like we're not here to try and sell you anything, but there is the option to pay for something to make your journey a little bit easier if you do want it. So Q&A at the end. Remember, please write questions down. We'll answer whatever we got. Without further ado, Mr. Torin Zonfrelli will bring you through most of this, and I will be in and out periodically.
Wow, what an intro.
Oh, yes.
Thanks so much, Nick. I really am excited to be here. And I actually really wanted to start this off with a quote that has really brought me a lot of understanding in crypto, which is people prefer the certainty of misery over the misery of uncertainty. Crypto is very new and is decentralized. So there's going to be bugs and all those kinds of things. And so crypto requires a high amount of responsibility. Do not be abdicating your responsibility to anyone else. If you're asking everyone else to basically how to do every single little step, you are going to get wrecked in crypto, or worse, you're going to get scammed and lose your money. So yes, there is uncertainty. And as Nick kind of pointed out, if you want to wait for more people to join, or if you want to wait until there's more security, that is totally fine, right? But if you do wait, I do believe that you'll be missing a majority of the upside. And go next. There we go. So this kind of brings into the diffusion of innovations curve. So this is how ideas spread and so here you have this graph which shows innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. So right now in crypto, only 5% of the population owns crypto. So we're in the early adoption phase for all of crypto. And in the wolf den, as Nick kind of pointed out, we're probably in the innovation stage, maybe in the just getting to early adopter phase. So you can see we're still very early in this type of investment. So what is the purpose of a crypto token? All right, so what does crypto even mean? Crypto is a digital currency that uses cryptography to secure transactions. So many of these products in crypto serve different purposes, right? So not all cryptos are going to be the same. There's things that are store of value, there's currencies, reward kickbacks, NFTs, insurance memes, and so many others, okay? So when we talk about crypto, obviously there's one main problem, and it comes with the US dollar. Right now, as we can all feel, CPI shows inflation at a record high of 7.5%. However, inflation, when you use historical methods and indicators that reflect real inflation, it's actually around 26 to 28%. That was back in February. It might even be worse right now. If you compare the USD inflation compared to the S&P 500, it measures also around 26 to 28%. So if you do have US dollars just sitting in your bank, it is losing value every single day, right? And yeah, banks will reward you for holding in their savings account with a 0.1% interest on your savings. So obviously, is crypto the answer? Obviously, as Nick kind of pointed out, we believe so, right? We believe there's a ton of upside in crypto. And if you're just to hold Bitcoin, which is historically increased on an average of 70% per year, you'll be doing very well, right? And if you have proper security, you don't chase upside and APYs, chances are you're going to be very successful and win. However, you have to make sure you have proper time preference going forward. Obviously, one of the main things that everyone always talks about is crypto scam. So there are many scams out there. There's also many bad projects out there that are not necessarily scams. Even if they have good intentions, they can turn bad just due to incompetence of the developers or administrators or the owners of the project, right? And the hard part is that malice and incompetence look the same. They're gonna have the same exact answers to any of your questions. For example, is this a scam? They're both gonna say no, right? So it's hard to really compare the difference between the two. This is why we, the Mastermind folks, mostly Nick and I, love the project and the community that we are in right now. So there are multiple ways of earning money in crypto, right? The first one is you can day trade or swing trade cryptocurrencies. However, it is a full-time job and you have to learn how to day trade if you don't already know. And Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are extremely volatile, which yes, that means there's a lot of upside, but also means there's a lot of downside. Another way is to buy, hold, and sell at a later price. This is very linear, and you're just holding and hoping the price goes up. And majority of the people are doing this. But we think there's a better way where you can earn interest on your cryptocurrency that you're already holding, right? That way you can constantly make money even in a downturn market. You're holding your macro beliefs and earning interest in the meantime. So that brings us to an alternative to Bitcoin, right? We talked about how Bitcoin, if you held it on average, it was getting 70% per year. That brings us to the Wolf Den base case, which they are at a minimum getting a 70% annual percentage yield. That is what it's designed for. Historical data, though, puts it gains at actually at 100+% per month. Don't fully extrapolate that data and rely on these numbers. However, just use those as proof for what can happen in this project. The base case asset right now of Guard BUSD LP pair is designed to provide a 70% yield per year, regardless of the market. So here's a quick graph of Guard versus USD. You can see here, it is a phenomenal looking chart, starting at 13 cents, going up to almost $4.50. Now let's compare that over the last 3 months of Bitcoin. Yeah. So Bitcoin last 3 months has been very basically back and forth between 45,000 and 35,000. So you can just see the doesn't matter what kind of market Bitcoin is, guard versus the US dollar is doing extremely well. We just wanted to put an overlay of these two graphs to just really hammer in that point. So now we're really going to get into the technical jargon. You don't, like Nick said, you don't need to know this information to invest in the project. Don't need to know how all the ins and outs works. All you have to do is understand what you need to know to inform your behavior, right? Making that yes or no decision is based on you and you alone. So right now, obviously we have the banks. You're going to make your money. You're going to put your money into a savings account. The bank uses your money and the bank rewards you. This is in a centralized world, right? And so that reward is a 0.1%. However, in DeFi, we have DEXs, which is called a decentralized exchange, where you buy the tokens, you provide the liquidity on the DEX, people exchange tokens on the DEX, and therefore the DEX rewards you for providing that liquidity. So how does that work? In DeFi, there are, like I said, decentralized exchanges. And on those decentralized exchanges, they need what's called liquidity, which is the easiness of buying or selling an asset. Trading on a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance involves buy and sell orders similar to a stock market. You have to place an order at a certain price, and someone has to be able to place the same sell at the same price and quantity that you're trying to buy. However, on a DEX, people need to be able to exchange a token whether or not someone is buying or selling that token. That comes to where liquidity pools come in, or LP for short. On a DEX, there are no buys or sell orders. There are only liquidity pools that make up of two different tokens. This is the only way people can trade those two tokens. The larger liquidity pool means the safer it is for large trades. So how do DEXs get people to provide that liquidity? Well, they reward you with their native DEX token for staking or lending that LP token of the desired pair. So the LP stakers also receive a percentage of the trading fees for every trade made for those tokens on the DEX. So the main question I always get is how much do I need to invest and how long, right? So it really depends, mostly on what you need, right? So the base case is best used as a long-term investment strategy, since compound interest is always backloaded. The last few years of growth is exponentially more than all the previous years combined. Life insurance works similarly. So if we go back to the next slide here. So most of you probably know what happens when you take a penny and you double it for 30 days, right? If you look at day 28, 29, and 30, you're making about $4 million of your $5.3 million, right? So it's very backloaded in the last 3 days. It's very similar if you had a 10-year investment strategy. The last 3 years is where you're going to make a majority of that money. So the question is, how much can you afford to not touch in 3, 5, 10 plus years and not toss and turn at night? This is the idea of getting to your solvable problem. So just kind of hammering back home. If you're right now, take your money to a bank, you make your money, put it into a savings account. The bank goes and lends out your money. They make money off your money and they reward you for that with a measly 0.1%. Whereas in DeFi, you buy tokens on a DEX, you provide the liquidity on the DEX, people exchange on the DEX, and the DEX rewards you for providing that liquidity. This is where what we call, what is the wolf den? The wolf den is a community that provides a massive amount of education on crypto, life, finances, and mindset. They've also created the quote unquote solvable problem. You can get everything you want in life at a 70% annual return. If you can't, either your time frame is too short or your goals are quite outlandish. The wolf den has also created a massive ecosystem with multiple different crypto projects that all support each other, but do not depend on each other. And they have what they call the 3 C's, right? They have the clarity, certainty, and then collapsing time to your solvable problem. We're going to go into the 3 C's. So clarity. What is the clarity of the solvable problem? If you're just investing and hoping to simply make more, great. Don't really care about that. You can go take that somewhere else. And I don't want credit for that success if you go into DeFi and go invest elsewhere. However, what I want is for you to come up with a solvable problem. I need this much money in this many years, right? Once again, make sure it's an appropriate time frame. Do not think I'm going to have $100 and I want to make $1 million in 1 year, because that's not going to happen in this project. Regardless of the money in your solvable problem will be, you have a number. So here, we're going to go over to a sheet here for Mr. Nick's going to take over. So Dream Life worksheet here.
Cool.
There we go.
I think I'm good. All right. So the solvable problem, first off, is gaining clarity. And as Torin just went over, when we have a clear picture of what we want, we can reverse engineer almost anything to be able to get to that point. And if we can't figure it out with the current knowledge we have, we can upgrade the operating system that we're working with. We can ask other people, we can use other resources, we can figure things out. Or you can understand, you know what, this actually is not a goal that is worth going after. Okay. So the problem with gaining clarity is you now have something that you can fail at. You've defined something that is like, this is success for me and my family. This is what I want. And if you do not get this, you now have failed. This is why most people will not define this. Okay, I want to put this up front so you can understand this is, I want to say this is one of the most difficult portions of people actually learning to invest in this kind of way. Because kind of like what Torin was talking about is investing in more is I'm just looking to make more. I'm just like looking to make more money. If I had more money, all of my problems would be solved. What we want to show, and what is taught within the Wolf Den, is if you have defined how much money you would need to accomplish the things you want to do, have, be, whatever it is, then we can work backwards. So in clarity, this is an example of a worksheet that part of the Wolf Den has put together. You do not need to use this. You don't need to use any of the tools in the Wolf Den. You don't need to use any specific one tool. The whole point is to do whatever is going to work for you so that you can understand what you want. This helps break it down to understand the different line items that would make up your dream life. Okay. So in this worksheet, and we can provide like kind of a supplementary video that kind of goes along with this, it goes in like long detail, and they have like a short summary on building this out. But if you have your current life and you look at kind of what your monthly expenses are, and you then extrapolate that out to your yearly, what this is going to tell you here is if you have, actually, yeah, we'll start here. If you have $765,000 in investments that produce 8% annually, you will be able to live off of your investments. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you're tracking, because most of what people are aiming towards when they're talking about, I want financial freedom, right? This is the end goal of financial freedom, is they want their passive investments to pay for their lifestyle. Okay. Passive investments paying for their lifestyle. 8% a year is pretty traditional, right? In S&P and traditional mutual funds, all that kind of stuff. I'm honestly, like, I sound like an idiot when I talk about some of those things, because I don't even freaking understand them all. Torin understands those a little bit more, but traditional 8%, you can get that pretty easily in some things. We're talking in the Wolf Den about 70%, okay? 70% return on your money. This 765,000 now becomes $87,500 that you need to be able to fund your lifestyle, your current lifestyle, if these were your current numbers. So then if we extrapolate that out to your dream life, if you were to actually sit down, you, your wife, your spouse, whoever is involved in your major life decisions, come sit down and actually look at, what do we want? What do we want our life to look like? And just as a hint, this is going to change. over time, this is going to change for you. So don't get too locked down to what this looks like, but try and get somewhere close and start dreaming to some degree. And if your dream life looks a lot like your current life, you're winning. You're winning in very big ways. So don't think that, hey, there's something wrong with me if I can't dream in those ways, because I have had people that do feel those ways, and that's amazing. Okay. All we're doing is showing you a tool that can help you reduce your number that you need for your passive investments to provide your dream life, whatever that may be. So if you actually listed out all of these things, let's say you put down how much your dream house down payment would be, how much it would be for a monthly payment, how much it is for a housekeeper, for a private chef, for whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, list it all out, go crazy, figure it out. You then understand, okay, I need $435,000 a year. Okay, if that's your number and this all looks awesome and amazing to you, then cool. You've now defined success, whatever that is to you. And you now understand you need about $6 million at 8% to provide you with this. So we can take something that we'll call crypto a higher risk investment, because it is a baby in the investment world. It is actually not classified as a full investment yet, pending on the government and all that fun stuff, right? But in crypto, instead of the $6 million, you literally need $622,000 to fund this. Okay. And there's advanced strategies to talk about down the line, all that kind of stuff. But we want to give you at least an overview of that's how much you need in investable assets at 8% at the lowest interest that we kind of know of, besides the banks, obviously. $6 million in the wolf den, and we'll show you in the compound interest in a second, is not crazy to think about. Okay. And I want to show you that math in just a second, but Torin, if you could please bring us back to the next part.
You got it. Perfect. Yeah. So now after clarity, we have the certainty, right? Certainty of solving the problem. Now you need to figure out with what starting capital, what additional capital you're going to be putting in per month, can you hit your solvable problem number, compounding at 70% per year. If you're already there, awesome, right? But if not, you're gonna have to go back and adjust the numbers, such as initial investment, your monthly additional capital, or you're gonna have to adjust the time frame. Now you have a problem that you can solve, not just some nebulous number that is just a more than what I have right now. This will help stay you disciplined and stay on track going through your investments. Now we can go back to spreadsheet. Got that?
All right. Yeah. So on the second tab, now that we have clarity on what we want, we have a number wrapped around what we want. We can now have certainty on, hey, are we on track to get what we want in a time frame that is acceptable to us, or are we not on track to get what we want in the time frame that is acceptable to us? Okay, so we use a calculator like this. This is built by the Wolf Den. They have lots of other calculators you could use. The Certainty app is a good app to be able to plug in some more of these details. Okay, but this is the overview. So what this does is this takes, if we're going to give you this sheet so you can kind of mess with it and play with it. So when you update your dream life within here and you update all the numbers, it's going to take this number. It's going to bring it over to here. And this is going to tell you, typically we want to use like 10 years, right? Because it's pretty palatable to like, hey, you can fund all of your wildest dreams of your dream life in 10 years. Is that acceptable? Cool. If we can do this in 10 years at a rate of 70% annual return to get this number, okay, let's say we are starting with still overfunded. Okay. Should have picked a bigger number, Torin. All right. So If you start, let's just call it $10,000. If you start with $10,000 as your upfront investment, you need to contribute monthly negative $196. That may sound a little confusing, but what that's telling you is you're overfunded. You are currently overfunded to hit this number in 10 years. Do you remember the slide of a penny doubling every day? If you actually look at the math kind of all extrapolated out on this, it gets really crazy. Okay, let's go a little bit lower even. So $5,000. You start with $5,000. You need to contribute about $100 a month into this investment that is getting you 70% a year to get $6 million to fund everything you want in 10 years. As you can kind of understand, if we start using math to start defining what we want in the time frame that is acceptable, we then can take little bits of money. I would consider this little bits of money to get fairly large bits of money in those ways. Okay. Obviously, we are like oversimplifying this to some degree. But once you understand it all, we're actually not oversimplifying this to as big of a degree as you may think. I'm going to go with one other example within this. 2 years. Okay. It starts getting a little bit more. You have to contribute a whole lot more per month to hit this number in 2 years. And as you see, as we increase the timeline, this number drastically goes down. So as Torin was talking about, the longer your timeline within this, the more realistic your timeline within this, you can accomplish some pretty absurd things. Okay, so let's bring it back. We will come back to this one more time in just a second.
There we go. So now final C is collapsing time. That way you can let time and randomness work for you, right? So like we talked about, any overage that you get above that 70%, so that negative $128 or negative $96, whatever it was, now reduces the amount of time it will take you to reach your solvable problem. That's where the time and randomness will take care of it for you. And I can tell you guys from experience and all the data that we have, that investors that have performed the best in the wolf den are those who have made the least amount of moves. And we'll go into the last one here. This is where you wanted to go, right?
So in making the least amount of moves, what does that mean? When you have clarity on where you want to go, you have certainty on how to go there and get there. Excuse me. You do not need to make a bunch of moves to get to your destination. Okay, let's think of this as like a GPS, for instance. I'm in Bozeman, Montana, and I'm trying to get to New York, New York. I've never been to New York before, but guess what? I can plug it into my phone and it can tell me all the directions I need to do to get there. Okay, it's kind of far away from me. It's going to take me some time. I'm going to have to make some stops along the way, but I can have some pretty clear certainty that I'm going to get there based on, hey, I put in my starting destination, I put in where I want to go, and this technology is pretty reliable. I think I can get there. Okay, so now let's say you decided to drive 300 miles an hour on this trip. I wouldn't advise that, but you're probably going to get there a lot faster than if you would have drove an average of 75 miles per hour or whatever the speed limit is. So the GPS is then going to update your timeline and tell you, hey, you just drove 300 miles an hour. You're way closer to your destination. So your time frame of when you're actually going to get to New York, you just shaved off like 5 hours, like really quickly. Like, huh, awesome. The same thing is going to happen within this type of investment, because like Torin said, we are very, very early on what we're doing, and we have clarity on where we are going with what we are doing. That is almost non-existent in most people's lives of understanding where they want to go. So when we understand where we want to go, let's call it this number right here, $6 million. We then let's say we invest the 10,000. We don't need to contribute anymore. And after 1 year of this is no longer $10,000. Okay. Let's say randomness happens and a bunch of cool stuff happens in the project. And now instead of $10,000, you have $50,000. You now need a lot less money every month. And instead of 9 years, because remember, this is 1 year has gone by, instead of 9 years, let's look at how many years it takes. It takes 7. It takes about 7 years. You've shaved 2 years off because the market had so much upside in what we are doing that instead of getting 70% on your money, you got, what is that for math people, like 500% on your money? Okay. And these types of things can happen in this kind of space because of where we're at in the markets, all those kinds of fun things. You can collapse your time very, very quickly when you know where you're going and what you are doing to get there. Okay. So hopefully that makes some sense. If you have questions, remember, write them down and we'll try and clarify them later. And then remember also, we are not pros.
Thank you, Nick. So I'm going to hit on some common questions that Nick and I get all the time. So the first one, obviously, is this safe? Yes, it is as safe as any other high return investment. Think of this almost as like you're investing in a startup tech company, right? This is one of the premise of the wolf den, is removing the downside risk, however. The next one here is, can I move my money out whenever I want? Yes, you can. It will just require obviously some transactional fees, but you can move your money in and out freely. But once again, like we said before, people who make the least amount of moves usually win the most. Will this avoid taxation? Absolutely not. If you're looking for crypto to avoid taxes, you are going to get royally screwed by the IRS. Nothing in crypto is hidden from the IRS. Centralized exchanges have to report to the IRS. Next, is the wolf den a scam or a real opportunity? So the person that started the community and the projects, his name is Nick Peterson. Yes, he is a real guy. He is a real world successful business owner. If people get scammed from these projects, he will lose out way more in real life business than he would gain. Plus, he doesn't hold enough of the supply of his tokens to be able to do so. Nick Pearson, he receives mine and Nick Russo's stamp of approval. We have both met him and his amazing team in person. You can go Google him, look him up on YouTube, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. He's out there, real person. So that kind of brings us to, what do you do next, right? So if you want to invest in the wolf den assets, you will need to get your money from your bank account into the Binance Smart Chain network. There are many ways of doing this. I broke down here just an example of how to do it. So you're going to go from your bank, transfer it over to Coinbase, which is a centralized exchange and wallet, transfer it to another centralized exchange, either Binance or KuCoin for a network swap, which then transfers over to a decentralized digital wallet of MetaMask, where you transfer that money now into the NightSwap, which is a decentralized exchange. And on the decentralized exchange, you will go buy the assets, pair it into a liquidity pool, and then deposit. So you're lending out that liquidity pair to provide liquidity for the DEX.
Now we're done and you know how to do it. And
yeah,
it's just that easy.
So yeah, so obviously there are two steps that we talked about. There's the paid and the free option. So how do you get your money in and what to invest in? So if you have more money than you do time, I have created the crypto course that Nick was talking about. It runs for $500 right now. However, if you have more time than you do money, there's tons of free videos, articles. You can Google it, YouTube, Medium articles. They're all out there for free. And then if you want to get more continual education in the Wolf Den, learn from Nick Peterson and his team, you can join the Wolf Den. Right now it's about $700. Or you can go onto their YouTube channel and go learn from them for all the videos that they have posted so far. We will send you all the links after everything. I will be posting this onto YouTube as an unlisted video, and all the links will be in the description. So a little bit about the crypto course. The course shows you basically that path that I showed you from your bank into NightSwap and how to buy tokens. So it shows you basically the process that to go through those steps, and I show it with my own money. You can find all the content online for free. However, why I built this course is to help save people time, avoid any potential scammers, and have the peace of mind that you're doing it correctly. I'm sure there's many people on here that can talk about the horror stories of sending money to the wrong place, Nick Russo. And at the end of it, you'll have also a bonus free consultation after the course where I give recommendations, not financial advice, on what to invest in based on your risk tolerance and what you're trying to accomplish. If you're all interested in the course, you can email or DM me if you want to purchase that. And my email is there on the PowerPoint.
Or if I could say a couple things because you called me out there. So, first off, whether you decide to use the crypto course, go the free route, whatever route you decide, if you decide that you want to do stuff, the number one thing is take it slow. Take it nice and slow. The other piece is do not do stuff when you are tired. What Torin is what Torin was calling me out on is I did something when I was tired, and I will be open and let you guys know. I sent $2,000 into the ether. Not the biggest of deals. $2,000, yes, it's a considerable amount of money in some degree, but what that $2,000 represents in today's value is quite a bit more. And I mean like hundreds of thousands of dollars more. So every move you make actually is very, very important. And so the crypto course, the buddy that I was talking about that sat down and spent 4 or 5 hours with me, he spent that time literally on like the first half of what Torin walks people through in his course. And I'm not sitting here plugging the course of like, you have to do it this way, but I'm just saying this makes a ton of sense in a lot of ways and solves a lot of problems for you, because I just had somebody who reached out to me literally yesterday, and he's like, oh, maybe I should have asked you a couple questions before I did stuff, because he spent $200 just in transaction fees that were completely unnecessary, meaning $200 that he doesn't get to invest in crypto and $200 that went to the Ethereum project rather than to himself. There's ways to get your money in much safer in those ways. This is confusing. This is why we're having this. And again, question and answer. We want to ease your minds in a little bit. We're going to, answer some questions, but I highly endorse spending money to save a bunch of money and understanding if you guys have heard the kind of rocket analogy of you have a rocket and it's going to the moon, and if it's just like 1 degree off, right, and just keeps going in that direction and never course corrects, it's going to end up like thousands and thousands of miles away from its actual destination, right? Where you start drastically matters to where you end up. And we have happened to have literally a lot of time, hundreds, maybe thousands. I mean, especially collectively, especially with some of the other people on this call, we have thousands and thousands of hours of understanding these things because it's that important to us to help other people. Okay. And I was going to save this for another time, but I want to talk about kind of Nick Peterson real quick on understanding. I was just listening to a call about how basically Nick and these other guys, they bought a town. Okay. Not Nick. He was kind of involved after, but they bought a town, and this town is going to help transform the lives of many, many people because they are integrating a bunch of, let's call it healing techniques, places for people to go get recovery. And they're incorporating that into the crypto world, into a town, into helping more people, into jobs, this is not just a, hey, let's get rich on crypto thing. This is a, hey, let's make the world a better place and let's use crypto as a tool to do so. And so on top of buying a town, they bought mountains. Yes, mountains around where the town is that they're going to do other things with. It is thing after thing that is absolutely absurd for what they are doing for the world. And I share, like, without Torin's permission. I shared his story of gifting me money to do this because that is such a tie for how it works in this whole ecosystem of all of the people that care so deeply about their friends and family and what crypto can do for their friends and family, and how we are all working together to, in my mind, it's freedom, creating massive, massive freedom for a lot of people. And most of that is done through the 3 C's, right? Of gaining clarity and certainty on where you're going, and then using crypto to collapse that time drastically. And yeah, I don't know. I just want to throw that in there and kind of talk about that. But thank you, Torin. If you can
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, and so if you're interested in joining the Wolf Den community, you'll have to follow these steps. Click the link, it'll show you how to do that. You do not need to be a member of the Wolf Den in order to invest in any of the Wolf Den assets. But if you want to get a better understanding or education and closer to the community and the team, it is a great way to get included. And one of the questions I do get is, but what if I just want to invest in Bitcoin? If you were to get your money in the decentralized world of finance, this will allow you to earn interest on your Bitcoin rather than holding it in your wallet. A great example is like have it in Coinbase. You can't earn any interest if it's in Coinbase. However, if you get into DeFi world, you can see here, let's go over one example here. You have a Bitcoin Phantom pairing. You're earning a 32% APR. So it's not even compounding on top of each other. So that's the power of getting into the DeFi space. So we're gonna go to questions. We did have 2 questions that kind of came in through the Calendly link. So I'll go over those first, and then we'll open up to everyone else. First one here was 10 years from now, when we go to pull out the funds from the base case, what does that process look like? So the first off, let's just start with saying if you were to pull it out tomorrow, if you were to do that, it's the same exact process that we in my course of going forward as it would be going backwards. You just literally do the same exact steps in reverse. The reason why I say tomorrow rather than 10 years from now is that in 10 years from now, we have no idea what the crypto space is going to look like. There may be way more streamlined processes. Even in just the last few months, things have changed and been easier to move money around. So I can't really necessarily promise you anything 10 years from now, but if you were to do it, put money in today and tomorrow you pulled it out, it would literally be the same exact steps in reverse. What are the expected tax implications that we think to be true? I'm assuming this means in 10+ years. So the first thing I'll say is 1, not a tax expert, not a CPA in any sense. All I do know that there are many different ways it's taxed, and it really depends on how you're putting your money into the crypto. But you're going to be making significantly more money in the crypto space that you're just going to have to pay the taxes, and you'll probably pull some of that out of your crypto. But this is an opportunity to make literally solving your life problem, and you can just take into account the taxes that come along with it. But once again, if you're looking to basically, I would suggest hiring a CPA if you're interested in like tax write-offs or things like that with crypto. There's some really good ones out there. And obviously, once again, like I said, in 10 years from now, who knows what tax implications are going to happen in crypto. Next one here, if a family member sends us money to put into their own base case, they wire into the personal checking account, then put into Coinbase, KuCoin, MetaMask, etc. Would we get taxed on that this tax year, or only once that money comes out into the bank account down the road? I'm not 100% sure. Once again, I would really suggest reaching out to a CPA for that question. Do you have any suggestions or information on that, Nick?
So I definitely have a suggestion on this. Is if you are you're already in the Wolf Den, already understand everything, what I would suggest is getting your family member to get their own Coinbase that is tied to their own name, their whole own account, then get them a separate KuCoin account and run the process through those two accounts so that it is tracked through those two accounts. And if you are going to manage, if you're going to manage their wallet in your MetaMask, and those of you that know what I'm talking about, know what I'm talking about. If you're going to manage their wallet in your MetaMask, you at least have all of the records that need to be for their money going in. And then you manage the MetaMask, they file taxes on that wallet address. Okay, so they can file taxes on that wallet address and connect these two accounts to their taxes. I would do that if you have different family members, different people you are helping. That's a new account for every single one of them. I know it is a pain, but definitely you don't want to deal with the pain of the other side of just lumping everything together in your own account.
Sweet. Those are the only two questions that came in. I guess now we'll just I'll stop sharing the screen, and I guess we'll just open up to everyone in the call for questions. I don't know if we want to do like a raise of the hand or how you want to do that, Nick.
I'll just free for all it.
Unmute
yourself.
All right.
Let's go. And there has to be questions because I know we botched so much of that. So there has to be questions. Randall, what's up, dude?
Well, just to piggyback off of what you guys have said, I went to my accountant this year and said, I started this thing in January. What do I do? And she gave me steps to work on now. It's not a tax thing I have to worry about right now, but I will. And she gave me some ideas of what to do now so I don't end up getting screwed later. So it's worth going to talk to the accountant just to get those ideas and set them up ahead of time.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Randall. Kellen, do you have some?
Yeah, first off, thank you guys very, very much for doing this. Much appreciated. I will say, as just getting into the night swap space today is an incredible pain in the ass, and I would think the $500 would have been well spent on my part. So wish I would have known about that beforehand. My biggest question is, of course, I think you touched on it a little bit, is what's the biggest risk in this that you guys see? Is it from a government side? Is it from, I really don't know, what the right place would be, but I guess outsider looking in, it seems like it would be from the federal side, regulation side, but just wondering what your take is, where the biggest risk in this is.
I have an answer to that, Torin.
You want to go and I'll fill in anything I want to add?
Yeah, you're the biggest risk to this. Like the person is the biggest risk in the decentralized space because of basically the erratic behavior that normal people would use. That's one of the most dangerous places because, like Torin was saying, is like I was tired and I sent it off into the ether. Okay, I would say that's one of the biggest risks. I know that's kind of not what you're asking, and I'll kind of answer that hopefully in just a second too. But the person is one of the biggest risks to your own investment. There is, and I'll go into kind of the safety piece of it for a second too. Within the Wolf Den, there is safety measures, there's safety articles on how to be as safe as possible within the crypto space. The most unsafe part of the equation is always going to be, not always, but most of the time going to be you, because like myself, send it off somewhere that I shouldn't have sent it, whatever that may be. In terms of federal stuff, the team of people that is running this project, running the Wolf Den, one of the people, which is Dan Nicholson, he's one of the top 10, I believe it's top 10 CPA firms in the nation. One of his clients is Bank of New York, right? He works with massive, huge clients, does really, really solid work within the accounting space. I don't even understand the words that they're talking about, but he helped write the standards for the derivatives of Microsoft. I don't even know what it meant, and I'm sure I'm said that wrong, but he used to advise within Microsoft and write their accounting standards of how they work and run and do all that stuff. So we don't know what it's going to look like, but the people that are involved in this, they know what it's going to look like and have a much better idea much before anybody else. And they always are positioning everything as soon as they possibly can for any of those kind of moves. And so a lot of the education they put out there is going to be to help benefit you the most in protecting you against anything that could be federally or regulatory down the line. And then they also help do that kind of protect that stuff within the personhood, because that is the most volatile piece of this whole thing. So Kellen, does that sort of answer your question? And Torin can fill in some blanks, but kind of get to what you're talking about? I think you're frozen.
It does. Absolutely. I appreciate you saying the you. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay. I appreciate you saying the you portion of it. I think that's key and definitely makes me think a lot about, the importance of, following the steps. But yes, I think we can't predict the future, what the feds are going to do, but I just see this as a space where they're going to want their little hands in. So.
Yeah, and I'll chime in on that particular aspect of it too, because everyone always thinks regulations is a bad thing on the crypto space right now, whereas I actually think it's going to be a very good thing. It needs the regulations, prevent the scammers. But what's going to happen is that once the regulations come through, big time companies are going to realize what they can and cannot do. And we talk about like Microsoft, Apple, they have reserve and like they have treasury assets that are worth like billions of dollars, right? Let's just say it's $15 billion, which I'm pretty sure it's significantly more. If they just take 10% of their treasury assets and put it into a cryptocurrency, they just dropped $1.5 billion into the overall crypto space. And so if that's going into crypto space, all the other cryptocurrencies are going to start gaining traction. That's the whole diffusion of innovations. Once there's more security, once more money comes in, more people are going to start coming in as well. So just more dollars are just going to come to the crypto space regardless, even if there's so-called good or bad regulations. So once again, just having the right time frame, not panicking in that sense. There might be increased taxes, who knows? But once again, like as long as you're having the right time frame and you're being safe and secure, you're going to make a good amount of money regardless of the taxes that come out of it. So, hope that answers your question. Sweet.
What else we got? Mr. Dunster.
So this is kind of a generic question, but I've had people ask me, how do you articulate that when they say this seems too good to be true? Like if it's too good to be true, it has to be. How do you articulate back to them to try and explain that, 70% seems like outrageous, but it actually is working?
I'm a product of saying that it is and then it actually being. And I generally up until this point, I have not said, hey, to the public, let's call it, like I've been a little bit more public lately because I'm like, hey, I'm about done talking about this to educate people in these ways, because it's going to be what it is. And you will jump on the train later when the returns are far less. And if that sounds outlandish to you and you can't believe it and that's what it is, okay. What I do explain to some people is I go through like that bank kind of like thing of here's the banks, here's the decks, like that kind of flow. If you look at banks and you look at businesses, because most of the people I deal with are business owners, and they understand that when I make money, I then can take that money and reinvest it in my business and get 1,000% return. I can take that money and go invest it over here and get a 300% return. And so in business owners, we understand how that works a little bit more fluidly. And so I try and explain that banks and investment firms and all of that, that's all they're doing with your money, is they're going and they're investing that money in stuff that is getting way higher returns, 70% plus, whatever it may be. So they're getting those returns because they're accredited investors and have access to those types of investments. We, the normal people, have not had access to that. And the decentralized space allows access to that. There is increased risk with that because it is up to you to be able to navigate that. And so I don't know, that's kind of my roundabout way of talking to people about that, but generally I don't talk to them about that. If it's outlandish and that sounds crazy to you, I'm like, hey, well, just so you know, I am getting those kinds of returns and you can take it for what it is. I put it on them of like, look, I'm either a liar or it's actually working, and it's up to you to determine whatever it is. No big deal. And I generally don't, that's why I don't go out and say a bunch of numbers and do those kinds of things, because I almost never lead with that. I almost never lead with the percentage, because I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this thing and it's insane. Do you want to hear a little bit about it? Are you in crypto? Like, hey, let me tell you a little bit more. And yeah, it's tricky. Convincing other people is a very dangerous game sometimes. And yeah, I don't know. We're all such good intentioned people and really want to help in so many ways that I wish, I don't know, Nick would have a much better answer for that, and probably a much harsher answer towards that, and just very cut and dry. So I'd love to hear his answer. You feel free to ask, Matt.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest thing that I have been able to do is basically say, like, what is something that you could throw away and you wouldn't even really notice, right? Even if it's $500, go invest it, put it in this and see what happens, right? Take 1 month, see what happens. When they usually see what happens in a month's time frame, they're much more willing to start investing more. And just, it's like one of those things where they don't really follow it, or they're not going to have their heart in it if they're not putting any of their own money in. So even if you can just get them to put in small amounts, they're going to follow it much more. They're going to start trying to understand it and get that feeling. But yeah, it is hard, because what we're trying to do is, most of the people that are in here are probably in innovation phase or early adoption phase when it comes to investing. And we're trying to get people that are late majority laggards to come in, because we want to help them. Like, we know you need this, come on, help. So that is it's very hard to do, but honestly, like, if you just get something small in there, and I've seen that seems to be the best luck I've had in getting people to investing more in it.
So I'm going to call this out. No, actually, go ahead, Matt, and then I'm going to call something out.
No, I say thank you. That makes sense. I appreciate the response. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And please, it's completely okay. Is there anybody here that completely thinks that we're liars, that you can't get 70% a year doing what we're doing? And that's okay. And I see a finger pointing, and then I'm waving. Okay. No, and like, literally, it's okay. It's okay if you don't want to talk to me, anybody. Okay. But I do, if you do feel that way, or you feel highly skeptical and you're down, I want to talk to you and ask you a couple questions right now. If not, no big deal, but I want to put that out there for you. Is there anybody? Okay. No big deal. The offer's there. Randall?
I was just going to say, you're the one that told me about this. I trust you. And so when you told me about it, I'm like, yeah, but I went and watched a couple videos of Nick's videos. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, I kind of, and then it was kind of like, but I trust Nick, he trusts him. Let me just throw Vegas money at this and see what happens. And then I kept paying attention to videos and watching things, and then checked in a month, and exactly that's what happened. It was just kind of like, oh, now I get it. I'm starting to understand it. It's making more sense, and I'm seeing it as well.
Yeah.
With the small amount of money I put in, I'm going to do more. And so that was kind of the catalyst for me, was that kind of the trust in you. And then, like, when I tell someone else, like, to answer Matt's question, I tell them about it and just kind of like, this is kind of the view. Go watch this video, go listen to this podcast. And if you want to do more, let me know. I'll answer any questions.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Can I just say, so my skepticism, I think, yes, I have some skepticism. That's true. I'm not 100% skeptical. I think it's not that I think you guys are liars. It's not that I don't trust like everything Barrett's bringing home from all the meetings. For me, it's more of the long-term thought of it, right? Like, it's all, going gangbusters right now, but like you were saying, 10 years from now, we don't know what's going to happen. And one day, my thought is, and I don't know anything about this, so this is completely made up in my head, but you could like wake up, 5 years down the line and everything's gone, right? And you've invested, it's more than just the initial investment. It's you put in, $2,000 at the beginning, and then you put in monthly amounts or whatever, and then you're out whatever that money is. I'd be more comfortable just putting in 2,000, letting it sit and not doing a monthly investment. or whatever amount of money upfront. But I think that's where it's not skepticism, it's hesitancy comes in with the more
Mhm.
long term, because we don't know what the market's going to do, because
Yeah.
there's no guarantee, I guess, is
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to put in the kind of presentation is this is like investing in tech startup companies,
Mhm.
right? And we've all heard of like, oh, the investor, they just gave them $50 million and they do not have a company 2 years later.
Mhm.
Okay, that is mostly what happens in the tech world. Not many of those companies actually succeed. Very few of them do, and when they do, they hit really big. Normally, that's why people invest in high-risk tech startups. So, that's generally what I encourage is like, hey, play if you want, unless you like really understand this stuff. If you want, play it as a high tech or a high risk tech startup investment. Would you invest, let's say $2,000? Would you invest $2,000 in that? Be okay if it goes to zero. And if there is massive upside, you get massive upside.
Mhm.
Awesome. Because that's literally what the math kind of works out to being within the returns if it all works. It
Yeah.
is working. And I actually have a very, very unfair advantage because I've known Nick for 3 years before crypto. He
Mhm.
never mentioned crypto, didn't talk about crypto. He's a business guy through and through and he made more money in business that he didn't need to work ever again in his life. He didn't need crypto. He is just a curious guy that figured out all these things and then figured out, hey, if I do this, we can help massive amounts of people. And so that's basically what he put together, set up, and has done. So I have the advantage of understanding him from the business side and understanding he still has businesses that are very, very successful that he doesn't have to touch and are managed in certain ways and all those kinds of things. Like I've seen him build businesses literally from zero, and I've seen them be sustained time and time again. So I have a lot more faith in something that he's going to build is not going to go to zero because of that. He does know how to build stuff that has very long power or long lasting power. And that's his specialty, is understanding how really complex systems work and implementing them into a business, which we'll call like this project a business. And like Torin was saying, is how this will benefit from regulations is because the relationships that they have are big, massive, huge institutions that want to invest in this.
Mhm.
And so they can't do that until they have regulations. And once they do that, all of that money comes into this. And where there is larger money, there is larger safety. And the returns are people, right? So like it all kind of compounds. And I've seen this happen multiple times. And it's beautiful. So as a business, and because I know you understand and know business stuff, literally just watching some videos and understanding how they function as a business is
Mhm.
incredible. Even if you never invested in anything, that is of massive value because you can kind of understand like, oh, I've never thought of things in that way. And they structure most of it in the terms of like a solvable problem type thing, right? And so you can apply that to a lot of things in your life. So unfortunately, or fortunately for everybody, I have a really unfair advantage. And I had like unwavering faith because I've seen him literally do it 100 times. I've seen him do it 100 times and help people over and over and over again. So I just literally came on my word and said, hey, Torin, here it is. And then continued to do that. So 100% be skeptical. Absolutely do it. And yeah, be safe with your money. Do what you're comfortable with. And as you start small, then you can get comfortable and feel it out if you want to do it at all. Another side note to this
I have
before.
Barrett being scapegoat.
What's up?
I said Barrett's the scapegoat. I can just watch what happens to his money.
Oh yeah, just blame it all on him. Let him be the guinea pig. Okay, one other thing I want to put out there to make it very, very clear. Torin and I do not profit or benefit from you investing in this. If you buy Torin's course, yeah, he'll make some money. Cool. And very well deservingly, he should make that money. If you invest in the Wolf Den, I'm going to say that is 99.99% accurate that we do not benefit. How we do benefit is by having really good, awesome people that are holders in the ecosystem. So anytime you have a market and people hold money rather than sell it and try and like trade it and do weird things with it, it makes the market more stable. That's one of the powers of the wolf den, is because most people are holders within the company or within the wolf den. So we very little benefit from you, but that's not why we are doing any of this. This is literally because we want our friends and our family and people that we love and care for to at least have the option to say no in these ways and watch Barrett and watch all of his money burn or watch it flourish or do its thing. So
yeah, I'll just add on there that like this obviously has clearly changed Nick's and I's lives right now, and that's why we are trying to quote unquote preach it to all of our friends and family to help, like, hey, this has changed our lives, we want this to help you guys. Obviously, we're not forcing you, not doing anything like that, but here's the opportunity. And another thing, just a little bit on like the token is kind of going to zero or anything like that, or the project kind of just dying out. There are way too many high-end people attached to this project now. And if you kind of follow their videos, there's someone, Dr. Jeff Spencer. He is absolutely phenomenal. He is like a life coach for Bono, Tiger Woods back in the day, Lance Armstrong, all these phenomenal big time athletes and celebrities. There's the accountant that worked for Microsoft, and just massive amounts of project owners that are real life project owners that have put significant amount of money in. And so, like I said, like it would hurt Nick Peterson's if this were to go to zero or scam people or anything like that, much more in real life than anything else. Like, so like, and also I think the other thing was if the biggest holder were to sell, it would barely impact the price right now. So that's another massive upside to these projects compared to other cryptocurrencies out there. Just a
So
little more detail.
there's some more time for more questions. I'll stay on here as long as you guys want. One piece I do want to put in here before we kind of move on is the I told you so's. You will not hear I told you so's from me and Torin. Okay. There is no, like, if you decide like, hey, like I'm not comfortable with anything, and you come back later and you're like, hey, like, can you tell me a little bit more about that thing? Like, you got that link again or something. There's never any I told you so's within this. And I encourage that for you guys as well, as kind of, Matt Dunster was talking about, is like, well, like, what if people don't believe me? Those people don't you believe you now are going to come back later and ask like, hey man, so yeah, you're doing really well in this. And like, I want in now. Please, like, no, I told you so's, like in those kinds of ways, because that's not our speed. That's not the wolf den speed in those ways. And I know almost every single one of you on this call. I know that's not any of your speed as well. So just know that coming from us is, we're here to support you in those ways. And we have built tools and communities and stuff to do so. But yeah, never I told you so's. And at whatever point you're comfortable, go for it. If not, have fun and go and flourish and do all the other cool things that you want to do. Live life in lots of cool, fun ways. So any other questions, any other comments, concerns, critiques, anything?
Hi, can you hear me?
Roscoe, what's up,
Hi.
dude?
Hey, so I was wondering, because I understand to the smallest degree that you can understand something, investing in the stock market is you're investing in a business, and the business is putting out a product. So the business has something to provide. So what intrinsic value does crypto have? What is giving it value other than people putting money into it and saying, this is valuable because I am fronting money?
That is an amazing question, Brian. Thank you for asking said question. Torin, you put that on you.
Yeah, that's actually it's tough to kind of hammer in that cryptocurrency.
Pausing. Dunster, is this okay? Matt, can you answer that, please? Sorry, Torin, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
All right, call him out. That's all good.
Yeah, and I guess kind of the way I rationalize it's about utility. So it's kind of like buying software, right? They're not putting out a tangible product. I'm not buying cups. I'm not buying cell phones, right? I'm buying utility aspect of it. So what does utility does Facebook provide? Advertisements and connecting with people. Same with LinkedIn, right? It's all about types of utility. So you can looking at trying to think of examples. Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're all utility tokens and treasure, reserves of assets, but there's all the utilities that are meant for video games, like gaming platforms, right? And that's the utility of the token. The Guardian token itself, which we use in the Wolf Den platform, is just meant to be for treasury assets. So that's the product. It's supposed to be holding its value for long periods of time. So people can generate other tokens on these platforms for different purposes, utilities, whether it's for gaming, NFTs. I'm not sure what else you guys really do in the crypto space besides those two right now, but that's kind of more of the product. I look at it more of a software, SaaS, right? So selling software as a service kind of mentality, more so than buying phones and buying technology in the sense of hardware and those kinds of things, if that kind of makes sense.
Torin, you want to round that out?
I was gonna just first off say, yeah, it's really hard to basically tangibly say this is something, right? This is a project that is providing what value. There is so much and so much detail on how the ecosystem works in the Wolf Den, and I will botch it if I try to explain how it all ties in together. The biggest thing is that they all are working together, that they've built together, but nothing stands alone. There's things where you can invest in the DEX itself, which is the token that provides the rewards. And so you're investing into the exchange for people to buy and sell their tokens on. They have the physical currency. If you want to buy something within the Wolf Den, you can you have to buy that token in order to purchase either time with like Nick Peterson or buy NFTs, so on and so forth. Then you have the treasury asset, long-term hold. It's what's created. That's what the solvable problem is based around of. So their product is the solvable problem and getting what you want in your life in the appropriate time frame. So there's many different assets, kind of like I talked about at the beginning. Like there's insurance in crypto projects. Those are like, if you're long-term on cryptocurrency, those could be great investments for you now. They'll probably be slow growing, but once mass adoption comes in, that could be a huge cryptocurrency that you could invest in. So I think the biggest thing is like, if you're more so concerned on the physical product itself, I'd really recommend going and watching like YouTube videos and understanding the mindset and understanding of like the education around their projects to get a better understanding. Because I think if any of us try to truly explain what it does, we'll completely botch it and not do it justice.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's a
really good question.
It's an amazing question. And it's almost one of those questions that I would answer with, you need to have multiple months of exposure to like start understanding the beauty of what they have created, or how they have meshed the real world value with cryptocurrency value. I can't explain it very well, but they are using real world assets and opportunities to enrich people's lives in the real world, which also enrich people's lives in the crypto space. And it plays off of each other. And they both, when one benefits, the other benefits, and vice versa. It is very, very difficult. And again, we are not pros. I can't explain it all. I don't understand how to explain it all. But yeah, they do real world things. Okay, I'm going to call her out because she's been called out so many times. Amanda Markle, sorry. She creates bronze art in real life. Okay, amazing bronze art. And within the community, she is going to be selling her actual art to different people. And then that money gets invested into the Wolf Den. And then that money that gets invested into the Wolf Den benefits the holders. That money that gets invested then gets redeployed into the mountain town that the team bought, that there's speculation, they may purchase some of Amanda's art to go into this town, into this little mini town, and this art, and so it starts benefiting real world people in their real world businesses that then benefit real world projects of building towns and mountain retreats that people then go to get healing and vacation, which they have real world value. in the physical space, meaning, hey, Dana and Brian want to go on a vacation. They can spend their money to go to this place, and that money then gets invested back into the crypto space. And Brian and Dana were not looking at getting an ROI on the money they spent, like in terms of like cryptocurrencies. They were just looking at going on a vacation, and that's what they got. So they're fulfilled in that area in the real world. And then in the crypto space, it actually benefits crypto because it all gets reinvested and cycled. And I don't know how to answer that, Brian. So good question. So does that make some kind of sense at least, or is that still very confusing? That's completely fine if it is.
Yeah, it was confusing, but I get it because I get that all money is a social construct. We just say that something is money and that makes it real. So I understand that, but I understand like the more traditional just because I've just been brought up and I've just been around it. Like gold has intrinsic value that you can still make stuff out of it. It's malleable. So even if civilization completely is destroyed and like let's just say a nuclear war or something like that, gold will still have value. Like, but if the electric grid goes down because of nukes, then cryptocurrency has no intrinsic value. You know, like, but paper will still have value. So like you guys said, it's more alluded to that it's complicated and it's cycle and it gets invested and reinvested. I was just wondering, like, if everyone just pulled out their money, well, there's no more value to it because the people, from my understanding, the people who are investing in it, making it actually worth something. Now they've taken all their money out, so you can still have 10,000 of nothing, and it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the Wolf Den more powerful than most other projects. I would say almost any other project out there, is because most of the people that are looking at investing in this are looking for long-term investments. They're not looking to just kind of like turn and burn. They're not looking for moonshots, if anybody has ever heard that kind of term. Like, they're looking for long-term wealth growing, and that provides a really stable chart. And even in the stock world, right? If we look at I'm going to talk way outside my league, but if we talk at like the Wall Street Bets guys, right? And everything's like hold, because if we hold, it drives the price up. Like, literally, that's the natural state of the Wolf Den, is like, okay, cool, we're going to be there's real world investors in these ways. And yeah, like you said, it has a social construct around everything, and they understand how to navigate all of that in this massively beautiful way that I'm still learning every single day, and I get to apply to a lot of different parts of my life. It's really cool. So yeah, again, don't know how to answer that even.
Yeah, I guess
more eloquently.
one other question for you. Do you invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum at all?
No, this is my first exposure to,
Okay.
because it's always been out of my depth. I haven't even really looked at it.
No, that's totally fine. I was just gonna say that there's opportunities, like maybe you don't necessarily understand the Wolf Den projects in a way, but you're like, hey, I really think Bitcoin, Ethereum are awesome. I want to invest in that. There's ways of basically taking your yield and going and buying other assets. That way, you can primarily keep funding what your macro beliefs are long term. But if it's crypto in general, I think there's just yeah, it's just going to take time to really get used to and research and get to know more, for sure.
There's also tokens out there that are backed by the US dollar as well. So they do have backings by FDIC insured bank reserves, not by the government, but by organizations that do that. So you can also look at they're called stable coins. They kind of help you kind of maybe get some idea of footwork into.
You're muted for
You're
the last,
muted
like,
the last
5 seconds.
I was doing a temporary, the space bar on a pop-up came up. And it's just, there's other ways out there. Maybe look at stable coins as an onboarding, even as that slower returns. But again, it's looking at, okay, crypto, but it's backed by something in broader context. That's all.
Yeah, actually bringing up that point, there's two stable coins that you can pair together, and right now can earn 11% on your money. So even if you just keep your money in stable coins in the DeFi space, you are earning 11% and beating out the S&P 500. So even if you're not like, hey, I don't necessarily understand crypto tokens, you can literally take out that money like at the end of the year, pull out that money, put into another stable coin, and then you have made 11% on your money that you've put in. Thanks for that, Matt. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Throw some rocks. Dominic, you got something?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I'm Nick Russo's brother, and he told me about this. I don't even know now. I think it was like back in September, or even probably before that. And I didn't listen to him the first time because I was like, yeah, you're crazy. I don't want to do any of this. No thanks, kind of thing. And so it took me a long time to like want to pay attention, because my brother wasn't just going to like force feed it to me and just like, oh, I'll do it for you kind of thing. He wanted me to do it by myself, which was kind of annoying because, like, not to plug Torin's course or anything, but figuring it out by yourself is a pain in the butt. Like, it is so difficult to like understand each step you have to do. And like, I'm super cautious when it comes to things, and I don't want to make mistakes and like all of that. And so I had another buddy, me and him did it together kind of thing. And he was a little more advanced than me. And he walked me through and helped me. And like just in the short amount of time, like, I've actually like learned so much of just doing it on your own. But I think Torin can like speed you up tremendous amount of time. Like, if you want to do it yourself, more power to you, but it's going to be a headache for you. And it's going to be very, very time consuming, nervous. You might lose lots of money. I lost around, I don't know, like probably $400 to $500 by like gas fees and Ethereum, if that makes sense to anyone. But like, yeah, there's multiple things you can do to lose money, and Torin can probably save you money by just paying for his course kind of thing. And so, yeah. And then one other thing I just want to touch on, if anyone's going to go do research on Nick Peterson, I really didn't like Nick Peterson at all when I first watched videos on him or anything. He's like, no offense to anyone, but he's kind of like an asshole mentality of like, he's really mean, like kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, but once you actually understand what he's doing and what he's meaning behind things, he's just not like, he's not, I don't know what the right word is. He's very, very intelligent. And he doesn't want to waste his time with stupid people, pretty much is like what it comes down to. And he really wants you to pay attention, do your own research, do all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, don't let Nick Peterson like shy you away from things until you give him a chance and keep watching his videos and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, just from the mentality of like, he cusses a lot too. So if you're prepared for that, just be prepared for that. But that's all I gotta say.
And I would jump into that and say his personality and his attitude, don't let that deter you, because that delayed me by 3 weeks. But his underlying message, I kept thinking like, okay, I think he's an asshole, but his underlying message is pretty spot on. Like, and so I just kept listening to the underlying message. And then I got around to, oh, that's just his personality. And now I just deal with his personality, so.
If you guys only knew him in person.
Yeah, he's
Very,
such a
very
good fool.
different. Yeah, but yeah, the way those messages come off, it was very much a turnoff for me. And I kept turning the video off, and I'm like, no, Nick said I should watch this. I should watch it. And I go back to it, and I had to watch some videos 4 times just to get past Nick's personality. And then, but once I did and started listening to the message more, it totally made a difference.
That's a great point. Thank you, Dominic and Randall, for that. And yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting to watch humans navigate certain scenarios and situations, myself included. And it's like all those stories of like, oh, like it took me 3 extra weeks because of this and blah, blah. Like, I have plenty of those examples in this space, in this way, especially with Nick Peterson. So I'll tell you exactly why. In the beginning with Nick Peterson, I drug my feet. And then I'm talking in the business world. If I wouldn't have drugged my feet, I would have been light years ahead of where I am now in business, because I was hesitant, because I didn't really understand him. And I thought he was this weird way, and he had this weird way about how he talked and what he did. And And then I missed out on an opportunity, missed out on another opportunity. It kept outpacing me. So I missed out on a lot of business stuff. When I heard about the crypto stuff, I was like, ooh, there it is. I'm not going to miss out on that. I learned my lesson. I'm not going to miss out on that kind of stuff. And so therefore, I, as soon as I could, literally, I text Chelsea. I was like, hey, I'm going to invest like $500. I'm not really going to tell you what it is because I don't really fully understand what it is. Are you good with that? And she gave me the thumbs up and put it in, and that's how it all started. So it's pretty awesome that's why I go back to the who, not the how. And I'm willing to put myself out there to tell you, if I can be your who for you, cool. To like borrow my trust until you have enough of your own. And I'm not saying go leverage all your money to go do this. I'm saying, like Randall said, go watch some videos and understand some stuff and get comfortable with some things. Like, trust me, the who, enough to go watch some of that, because even if you don't invest and you just understand like the principles they're teaching, your life can be drastically different a year from now than where it is right now. So yeah, it's like, thank you guys. I mean, I know we paid all of you guys to say all that kind of good stuff and all these things, but
Yeah, thanks for plugging the course.
I'm completely joking, but like, this is what it is. And like, this is the community, and these are the people, and any of you guys that are in the mastermind or in Dunzo or in any of those kinds of things, like, hopefully you understand and know the feel of like who we are and what we do. And yeah, love you all and like care a lot about all of you guys. So if you have any further questions outside of this, I do not have a ton of time. I know Torin doesn't have a ton of time either. We'll do the best we can. But if you need anything, let us know. We can connect you with the right person. Generally, we're probably going to send you the right link to, hey, go down this rabbit hole and go do these things and do it for yourself. Learn for yourself. Trust me, you're not going to regret the knowledge you get. Okay. The investment side, that's up to you, and you can get whatever help you want on that end. We'll send you all the links, do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what we got. Any other questions? We'll stick around and answer some more questions if you got them. Yeah, I'll wait a second.
One other thing, Torin, this isn't your first time with crypto, right? You've done before Wolf Den, you were in crypto before this, right? So you've kind of navigated the landscape before this kind of stuff, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I first invested in crypto, I think it was like 2019. I wouldn't say I was necessarily a great investor. I kind of just like bought Bitcoin, bought Ethereum and Cardano, and did the whole like hold it and wait. And obviously it did very well because I just let it sit there. But I didn't understand the DeFi space at all before this. I just spent many hours navigating this and doing it many times, where I got very adept at going through the process. And so every time I started onboarding people and friends and family, that always seemed like that was the biggest barrier in the block, and which is why I've realized that that was the service I needed to provide to help people get through this opportunity the best way possible. Everyone was basically immediately turned away because it was difficult to go through the steps, which is, yes, there is a lot of difficult steps, but that's why you have the highest return right now. And that is why there's a very low percentage of the population invested in the DeFi space right now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you guys are the best. Love you all. It's been, dang, an hour and 40 minutes already.
Jeez.
That's awesome. Okay. Seriously, anything that you need, if you have questions, again, don't have a lot of time, but we will point you in the right directions. We'll send you all the links. You signed up through the Calendly link, so you should get them automatically. It'll be posted underneath this video for any of you guys watching this video later. We're trying to make it efficient, trying to make it helpful. If there is any feedback of like there's some massive gap somewhere, let us know so we can clean it up and maybe fill something in. But yeah, I'm excited. Like, I almost want to feel like, cool, let's set a date from now, a year from now, and have like a reunion. And then we can all show Rachel our accounts and flex on. No, I'm just kidding, Rachel. I'm just kidding. No, But yeah, it would be cool. Honestly, it'd be cool to like reflect on that and be like, you remember that day? It was April 4th. Like, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I don't know.
And feel free, when we send out this link to people, feel free to send it with friends, family, anyone else is interested in the course, or in crypto and in the Wolf Den. So yeah.
Yeah, go do
Sweet,
it.
guys.
All right,
Thank you
awesome.
very much.
So, boom. Let me stop the
Thank you.
recording.